sit with you for a second, because the appliance keeping your leftovers from turning into a biology experiment consumes more power in a year than an entire household in Bangladesh or Kenya or the highlands of Guatemala. And the same crowd that flies private to Davos in order to lecture us about our carbon footprint has decided those 3 billion people should stay exactly where they are. Cold, dark, cooking dinner over a fire made of dried animal dung or something, which, by the way, is a real thing. And it kills them by the millions through indoor air pollution. But sure, let's talk about the tailpipe on my pickup truck instead. Now, this guy named Alex Epstein, not that Epstein, this is a different guy. He wrote a book called The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels. And he followed it up with a second one called Fossil Future. And he made the same argument in both books, with the second one just being 10 more years of data. He sat down with John Stossel, and Stossel did what he does best, which is play devil's advocate with a smirk and watch the other guy knock every question right out of the park. The case Epstein makes is simple, and it's the case nobody on cable news will touch with a barge pole, because it commits the unforgivable sin of being true. Coming up, I'll tell you about the 98% statistic that the UN climate reports won't print, why Germany paved over farmland with solar panels, yet still buys gas from Russia, and why renewable is the most oversold word in the English language since low fat. Well, here's the 98% statistic. Over the last 100 years, deaths from climate-related disasters, that's heat waves, cold snaps, hurricanes, floods, droughts, wildfires, the whole menu, have dropped 98%. They haven't gone up, they haven't held steady, they're down 98%. In the same century, when we burned more coal, oil, and gas than all of recorded human history combined. You heard that right. And you're not going to find that number quantified anywhere in the 1,000-page synthesis reports the IPCC cranks out every few years, because it's an inconvenient number. It tells a story the professional climate warriors don't want told, which is that fossil fuels didn't just make us rich, they made us safe. Air conditioning in a heat wave, think about that. Heated homes in a blizzard, storm shelters built out of concrete, which takes fossil fuels to manufacture. Levees, pumps, irrigation, weather satellites, the helicopter that will pull your butt off the roof if the river jumps its banks. All of that runs on energy, and the cheapest, most reliable energy humanity has ever found comes out of the ground in the form of hydrocarbons. Now, Epstein's phrase for this is climate mastery. Nature, left to its own devices, is not a spa day. Nature's trying to kill you. It wants to freeze you, it wants to drown you, it wants to starve you, it wants to bake you, and it's been doing exactly that to our species since we crawled out of the caves. The reason you're sitting in a climate-controlled room watching this on a device that's charged by an electrical grid is that somewhere, right now, a turbine is spinning because natural gas is burning underneath it. That's not a sin. That's a miracle your great-grandparents would have wept to see. The counter-argument is always the same. Solar, wind, and batteries. Just wait for the technology. When Stossel interviewed Epstein, he pushed back on this and said, solar's getting cheaper every year. It's already beating coal in some places. Epstein's answer was pretty blunt. He said, wherever solar and wind have gone big, prices have gone up and reliability has gone down. Germany is the perfect exhibit A there. The Germans sank roughly 5 billion euros into their grand green transition and called it the energy wind, and ended up with electricity rates triple what Americans pay. And they still burn lignite coal, which is the filthiest coal on earth, because when the wind dies and the sun sets, the lights have to stay on somehow. And when Vladimir Putin turned off the gas valve during the Ukraine war, they went scrambling back to coal like a reformed smoker going through a dumpster for a butt. The problem is not that solar panels don't work. The problem?
Intense hydration with a signature scent. New Palmer's Tahitian Vanilla Hair Care.
I needed to prioritize myself, and being in the apprenticeship, this was that opportunity for me. The biggest thing that contributed to me doing this was I deserved better.
Every year, thousands of families start their journey on the main turnpike, which is why safety is engineered and safety is upheld. It's our commitment to you. With wide lanes, good sight lines, and design that support emergency responders. The main turnpike is one of the safest interstates in the country because the people who travel it, they're the ones we're here to protect.
Safety is our investment, alongside those who protect it.
The problem is that the sun goes down every night and the wind stops whenever it feels like it. Epstein calls this intermittency. And it means you don't replace a gas plant with a wind farm. People end up building the wind farm in addition to the gas plant because you still need the gas plant for every night, every calm day, every January cold snap. But then you just paid for 2 grids instead of 1. And guess who eats the cost? Yeah, it's the retired school teacher in Ohio whose power bill just doubled. The battery argument is the other dodge. Just wait, the batteries are getting better, and they are in fact getting better, in a sense that a squirrel getting a running start is better than a squirrel standing still. But to back up a modern industrial economy with lithium batteries, you would need to mine rare earth minerals at a scale the planet has never seen. Cobalt, nickel, lithium, mostly in places like the Congo, where little children end up digging them out of pits with their hands and dying in droves in the process. The Greens have a funny habit of not talking about that part. Epstein's point, and it's the moral core of the whole argument, is that energy is not just a commodity. Energy is the master resource. Cheap, reliable, clean energy means clean water, refrigerated medicine, functioning hospitals, harvests that don't rot in the field, women who aren't having to haul firewood 10 miles a day, children who aren't breathing wood smoke into their developing lungs. Take away that energy and you're not saving the planet, but you are condemning the poorest people on earth to the short, brutal lives that their ancestors lived. And you're doing it from a heated office in Brussels or somewhere. The people screaming loudest about the end of the world have a curious habit of living as they don't believe a word of it. They fly to conferences, they buy beachfront property, they heat their swimming pools. Heck, John Kerry has logged more private jet miles than United Airlines probably. And then there's Greta, little Greta Thunberg, who stood at that UN podium when she was 16 years old and glared into the cameras with a practiced angry stare and then hissed, "How dare you," at a room of the most powerful people on earth. Here's the thing nobody pointed out at the time. The microphone she was speaking into ran on electricity. The lights that made her face visible ran on electricity. The sailboat, because Greta had a sailboat, a carbon fiber sailboat built with petroleum products and crewed by people who then flew home on jets. That's the sailboat that got her to New York from Sweden. It was a floating monument to the industrial civilization that she was scolding. Her jacket was synthetic. Her shoes were synthetic. The paper her speech was printed on came from a mill that runs on natural gas. So she was a child at the time. Give her some grace. She's gotten even stupider since then. But the adults who wrote her lines for her and coached her delivery and turned her into a prop, they all knew better. And they pushed her out there anyway. Because nothing sells climate panic like a teenager with her jaw clenched. Meanwhile, a woman in Malawi cooks her dinner over burning corn stalks or something and ends up losing her eyesight at 40 years old from the smoke. That woman didn't get a UN speech. That woman doesn't get a Time magazine cover. That woman would trade every "how dare you" in the history of environmental movement for a working gas stove. The moral calculus here is not complicated. It's just been inverted by people who would rather feel virtuous than be useful. Fossil fuels are not a sin. They're the reason you're alive. They're the reason your grandmother is still alive, if she is. And they're the reason that 3 billion people might someday climb out of the dirt and join the rest of us in the 21st century. Epstein's book makes the case in 300 pages of footnoted data. Stossel's interview with him makes it in 20 minutes of plain English. Both of those are worth your time. You should go watch them, and I'll link them in the description of this video. And both of them will never ever be assigned in a single American high school classroom, which tells you everything you need to know about why this argument has to be made over and over again. Coverage like this isn't cheap, folks. If you want to support independent reporting that doesn't genuflect to the green orthodoxy, head over to chuckholton.com. Members get the shows before anybody else does, and they get direct access to me and the satisfaction of knowing you're helping keep one more voice out of the echo chamber. So until next time, thanks for watching.
Driving in Maine is tough on vehicles. Sand, rocks, and harsh chemicals used in road treatments will cause rust over time. Protect your investment, extend the life of your vehicle, and increase the resale value with Darling's Undercoating and Spray-In Bed Liner. Undercoating is available at Darling's locations in Augusta, Bangor, and Ellsworth, with Spray-In Bed Liners offered at Darling's and Ellsworth. For more information, visit darlings.com today.
This is not the United States of Patrick Bet David. This is the United States of America.
Would you take money from a capitalist to help you go see specialists?
I mean, yeah, sure, why not?
But would you also be open to seeing somebody else, I choose as a psychologist, that may...
No.
You're not?
No. No.
When you're offering people here jobs, right?
Right.
You're saying that they would have to pay you money to get that. So in reality, you're trying to convince them to pay you money to be part of your company.
Be defaming. Be very careful defaming when you don't know the facts. I'm Patrick Bet David. I'm an entrepreneur and founder of PVD Podcast. Today, I'm surrounded by 20 anti-capitalists. My first claim is incentive is the engine of capitalism. Remove it and the system fails.
Great to meet you, Patrick.
What's your name?
My name's Mason.
Mason, good to meet you.
Yeah. I'm value-tained. I'm a big fan of the channel.
Are you
so,
really?
Yeah, I do watch it quite regularly.
Very cool.
I do not agree with your claim. I don't think that incentives are only born out of capitalism.
Okay.
Most capitalist defenders say that incentive is because of scarcity, and people's ability to get what is necessary pushes them to work harder. I disagree with that. I'd say that some of our hardest workers are single moms working 3 to 4 jobs, and the resources that they're able to acquire compared to those that utilize their workers in order to build profit for their own companies is not equivocal.
So how would you do it? How would you change it?
Yeah, so I think that humans inherently want to be meaningful. They want to contribute to their communities, they want to contribute to society. When you look at depression rates, oftentimes it's people who aren't able to do anything besides laying in their bed and basically barely taking care of themselves. So I think that it's just a human intrinsic value to want to bring value to their community or a grander society. So I don't think that it's through scarcity alone that scares people into working.
I work for scarcity.
The point is, though, it's like, you know, are we how badly are we being lied to? That's the question. Right now, there's no way to be certain about that.
So
we
someone's
don't have
asking
access to behind-the-scenes information like that, so we can't really say. All we can do is assume that maybe there's lightly covering it up, but we don't know.
Yeah, David Wilcock would have been a good example of that for
Nobody in
sure.
the world that actually matters. The Iranians know what kind of damage they did. China knows what kind of damage Iran did to us, and Russia knows.
Well, as you can see, there's a lot of people in that realm. But right, when you listen to when he talks of, let's say, these higher beings,
China has pretty decent satellites that are getting close to the
and then he was kind of going by what the Alliance wants. You don't want to piss off the Alliance, right?
From the Chinese of the Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, of Muwafaq Salti, they can literally see the exact airframes of aircraft that we have at those bases and count them. They even have an algorithm on these satellites.
Yeah, so when a lot of the people in their audiences or whatever and stuff, so many aren't even aware of kind of that higher stuff. A lot of people get caught up with either.
This is trying to hide this from the U.S. public because they don't want the U.S. public to get an idea.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, that goes like the spiritual kind of stuff. As you can see, a lot of people get caught up on that, but that's part of the trick, so to speak.
almost through sheer incompetence as a
But it's
result.
not, right?
This is
So that's
something
why
that the
we
US
explain to
public ought be able
people,
see.
remember
Our
that
enemies are
show?
seeing this
Yeah,
right
it's
now
just a
every
lot
day
of
with the
questions, so I'm
satellite
trying to
photography
not
coming around
say
every
anything to
orbit.
further
We
confuse what a lot of
we need to know how bad
these
it is,
people are
so that way
talking
there can be
about.
outrage in the public that demands that action be taken. to
Yeah, because well, they
shore up
profit
this
from the
Achilles
stupidity
heel instead of just ignoring
and
it,
people
hiding
wanting
it,
to
and
get
covering it
a
up,
tarot
and
card
possibly putting more
reading,
U.S. soldiers in harm's way of
some kind of
imminent
reading,
death because we want to try and hide the fact that we don't really have any
have an
defense against drone
experience.
forces. That's the only thing that this is trying to achieve at this point.
Yeah, it seems like it could be. Pretty
Right,
much
but
the
that's
only way
just
to solve the
another
drone crisis
gimmick.
right now, and I know people are tired of hearing about those, but the only way to solve it is to partner with Ukraine to fill that gap. That is literally the only effective means that we have at our disposal right this very second to deal with that problem is to go to the experts, which are Ukraine. Ukraine has practical experience over 4+ years of how to
I know the
combat
terminology can be
And then we're
tricky
seeing
when
the
you're dealing with
right now by the United States.
not just
The
one of
United
the
States is pushing
audiences,
Ukraine
right?
away,
Because usually,
and not
you
only
know,
pushing
you're
away,
if you're
but
at
actually
church
backing Ukraine and running a
or
relationship
you're in a
between
sales
us and
meeting
that country.
for Market
So,
America
I mean, until something changes with the
or one of your
Ukraine
vitamin
relationship,
products,
then clearly we're not solving the problem.
or
That's a big issue because right now U.S. companies are trying to catch up.
if
but,
you
I mean,
are
truthfully, they're just not there yet. They're just simply not. There's companies
talking
trying to fill the
to
gap, but
10-year-olds.
why would we take that risk instead of just taking
Maybe you're talking to
what we have right now, which is the
80-year-olds
drone
in
experts
a
in
nursing
Ukraine?
home.
Why are we going to take that risk when U.S. forces are at risk?
Right now, if you are going
get it
to
wrong?
a nursing home in Fort Lauderdale, or you're going to a nursing home in backwoods Maine, I mean, the material might be a little bit different, right? Subject matter, things people like to talk about. I know, it's like polarizing. It's so polarizing, I know. I'm not saying either one is better than the other. Some topics and rooms can be a little more mind-numbing than others.
Most of the equipment that the U.S. used in the First World War to send us over the top and eventually defeat the Germans in the latter year of 1918 were almost entirely
I like enthralling.
by our allies.
Enthralling is good. Right, because I mean, you can have numbing or overwhelming.
By that point in the war. In the Second World War, there were plenty of allies who got
Yeah, if you say overwhelming or intense, it kind of implies different things, or the same, depending, I guess.
Oh, we can't take American weapons. No, they took them because their soldiers needed them. Our soldiers need drone defenses, and they need them not in a year, not in 6 months, not in 2 months. They need them today. We are at a war today. And every day that we're in a war, and every day that those soldiers do not have a proper defense against a new weapon, is another day that one of our own citizens, one of our sons or daughters of this republic, could die
Right,
on
so
the
what
battlefield
happens
needlessly
is,
because they had no way to defend against a form of a threat. And that's something that we need to fix.
and that understanding starts to come through as far as people that do those source field investigations and the higher beings they're in contact with, right, are people here on Earth, or why they're considered higher beings, they above the noise.
That is something that needs to be addressed immediately.
Probably on the programs. Yeah. Probably, I think it kind of almost has to be that way.
In Kuwait, some other news from in Tehran, where we were able to hear that the Iranians have once again stated that they are fully ready to
in reference to that,
according to senior officials that spoke to Al Jazeera today. We've also been able to hear that apparently the Iranians,
when it comes to the documented studies, you can't do it, the documented study, without somebody that's approved on the program.
So they've gone from saying
yeah, I mean, all the T's have been crossed, I's are dotted, the okay has been given.
Like, they were happening in apartments or just random apartment buildings. They were happening in some like government buildings, and they were like, "Oh, it's just the gas." It's like, well, that's some very strange timing with a gas explosion. It's happening all at once across the whole country. Now we're dismantling old munitions.
Right, kind of like when you think of, if you think of a probation officer and how they can, if they have clients or certain people on probation,
it kind of seems like a little bit of a wrong time. It's like, what are those bombs?
By the means that they use to keep an eye or whatever on certain people. having access to look up certain things about someone if they need to check in on a client. Right, they couldn't just do that with any random citizen being able to look up their history or check their medical records. Right, you don't have access to do that with just anybody, and if you did, you'd get fired. The system oftentimes catches that. Not always, it depends on what you're running on. Right, and there are people that know and make sure that some like their old systems. They don't want none of those new gadgets, say like the old-fashioned way. Oh yeah, they love those guys, don't they? Yeah. I know, and they make other people really hate them. They kind of, it's all behind the curtain type stuff, you know. They're both kind of thick as thieves in the Gulf of Aden and the Bab el-Mandeb. Right, and see how they egg on both sides. Put out a report. Here it is. It's like a war, you know. How fun. Sick fucks, man. 84 nautical miles southwest of Al-Makalla in Yemen. I know. Does it feel so good to be so cruel and ruthless? I know. Which was accompanied by one white fishing vessel. Sounds like piracy to me. The vessels are advised to transit with caution and report any suspicious activity to the UK MTO. Not long afterwards, we then got a report like that
very ship that made that report, the MT Eureka, was seized by Somali pirates right off the coast of Yemen. So the vessel did spot them, and it seemed that they had a very decently significant profile of pirates, you know, the little green. Right, so when you see too, those people are also the ones who get the funding when it comes to all the theories or people highlighting certain things when it comes to We've now heard that the ship has been hijacked. Some say telekinesis studies, but they use different terminology over the years, as you can see, like other things. And see how the people's reporting changes. I saw something, I felt something, I had lost time, lights in the sky, they stuck something in my ass. Right, so I mean there's different levels here, and then when you start getting into other levels of abuse, people using sleepy medicine and chloroform, putting people out while they're already asleep. You just put that cloth over their face. They go out when they're already out. And a lot of those abuse videos, that's what a lot of that is. And sometimes people that get abused, they have some recollections. So, you know, I don't remember. And you know what? Some of the marks on my body and the stains on my clothes, I'm telling you right now, that wasn't a dream. Is not to go steal the cargo. The first thing to do is she doesn't remember right.
It's like, look, we're not.
Oh, this is sick.
We're not like a therapist here. It's like if you have like ego problems, you have to go see a therapist.
Yeah, that was when I was.
You just hijacked the thing. It's like, what do you think you are?
I was 10 or 11, yeah.
Like back in the day, man.
Yeah, that was when the child molester that lived with us was arrested. And people were very concerned about the drugs being trafficked from the Middle East that my brother and others were involved with. Half brother.
You don't get to steal mine. Screw you. That's not the way that works. You have to climb your way up the corporate ladder. You need to learn a thing or two, you damn pirate. Man, that's not how the piracy stories down in the Gulf of Aden. We've also been able to hear of some jet activity over northern Iraq. We're believing it's zero activity at the moment. And we also were able to hear that the Royal Jordanian Air Force was also blowing up.
Yeah, I remember, remembering things and them saying, she doesn't remember, right, you know? Yeah, it was right around that time a ghost pushed me down the stairs.
So, to cut the clip short here.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I felt something. I don't think it was a ghost, but that's what the adults told me. They said because I was bad. It was probably a ghost because I was bad.
I don't know what kind of drug dealers
I was 10, maybe 11. You can check the records. There's hospital records because I fractured my shoulder pretty bad. I was in a sling for a while.
That drug they call Captagon.
Oh, it's making me cringe just thinking about it. Oh god.
Is drug dealers really the top time on the priority list right now. It's like, there's a lot of stuff going on. So it's like drug dealers seems like a side note, like compared to everything else that's not happening with the war restarting.
Right, it's just like he just said. How many times do we say it? We don't care about the fucking drugs. We don't care about. Please, people, wake the fuck up and help the goddamn kids, these punks, and how they're connected to these fucking trafficking bands. And then people start to find out about it, and they jump on board like they're part of some investigation or punk game. You sick fucks. Yeah, and they've done this to people all throughout the systems, up and down.
Really? No cat? Oh no, I got all the Captagon. Like, how much do you want?
Apparently it's I don't really know much.
It is really sad, actually.
Apparently, I haven't heard about
they just take the fun out of fun,
Because I didn't know, folks, about the drugs they had in Eastern Europe until a couple of years back before we started running the show. There was like a documentary that was covering this stuff, and they have something in Eastern Europe called a crocodile, which literally like melts your body wherever you inject it. Like, it's gross, and I never knew about that until then, and I was absolutely appalled. Like, honestly, it makes the American drug trade seem tame and humane compared to what people come up with over in Eastern Europe. But outside of that, we also were able to see some airstrikes in the clips of it here in southern Syria as well. Opa.
Damn. Bro, that cricket was as loud as the initial explosion. That was a loud cricket.
Man, that cricket was out there trying to find a woman somewhere. It was like, yeah! Moving this on out of southern Syria, we also were able to hear that near Kiryat Shimona, the Hezbollah forces were firing more rockets into northern Israel, and we did get to see the in-air interceptions occurring as a result. And we can hear them as well. Would you listen to that? Quite an active night over Kiryat Shimona. And someone said, let's see, y'all cover the Middle East, y'all don't know about Captagon? Well, I mean, I'm not really like a drug connoisseur, Like, I'm not really like someone who's like, man, let me know all of the illicit substances of the world.
How could I mention it if I didn't know about it? I mean, I didn't just come up with it on the spot.
Man, I mean, that's a good point right there. I mean, that's how we kind of knew about it, or even mentioned it or brought it up on air. But me personally, I'm not really a connoisseur of liquor or tobacco or drugs, so my knowledge on that's going to be pretty non-existent. And I never really have an interest. I mean, let me find out how they get messed up in the Middle East. It's never really been an interest of mine. But we can see them blowing up some Hezbollah positions here in the Israeli Air Force. Or, as we generally like to be honest, entire city blocks are generally getting blown up by the Israeli Air Force because there might be a Hezbollah guy somewhere in there, but we just don't know where.
Well, sir, they certainly didn't miss.
I don't think they can miss with a bomb like that. I think you could land that thing on the other side of the city and still get them. But moving us on out of that little bit of news, we also got to see as well, before we move on, that there were some special flights of C-130s with no markings painted in solid white today from Amman, Jordan. I wonder what that was about. Well, it was flights from the Bank of Utah trustee, so, you never know. But moving us on from apparently the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints apparently making a mission trip to Jordan in the middle of the whole thing, we've also been able to hear some other developments with the significant airlifts that are currently ongoing within the area, which y'all can see right here as well. But with all that in mind, it is time for us to finally move on out of the Middle East, because we have a lot more news to cover inside of China and also inside of Europe. We have a whole load of news that came out of Europe today. But before we move on into the rest of the news that we have for the night, I do want to make sure that we take a brief moment to thank each and every single one of y'all for watching so far. This stream has been live for an hour and 15 minutes. We've had a peak viewership tonight of 19,000 people, and about 100,000 people have watched this show over the first hour and 15 minutes. We got to thank you all greatly for watching so far. We still have a whole load of news to go, so make sure to stick around. We've got a lot to talk about and a lot to cover that is quite large and significant in its own way in different areas of the world. And before we move on into that, I do want to take a brief pause for a moment to get to talk to a couple of y'all and answer 3 questions from the chat. So Matthew, what do we got?
All right, and we're going to grab those 3 Super Chat questions right now, but also, by the way, just to let y'all know, I am tracking another breaking story. I'm going to hold off on reporting on it for right this second because I got to do some more research into it, but we'll see here if I can validate it, and I'll report on it after the question segment if I can. But with that, folks, jumping into our first Super Chat question, this one's going to go to none other than Fred Freeman, and thank you very much, Fred, for that $50 support, and we do appreciate it very much. This is one of the largest Super Chats of the night. He said, "Whoa, boy, what a mess." He said, "I hope you guys are holding up okay. We appreciate all the coverage, LSA and USA."
And LSA, and I gotta say, thank you so much for the support, Fred. And it is quite a mess at this point. We try and still make it a little bit humorous, but it is quite annoying to watch the United States get into something that's going this badly, because I always expect better from a country that is as great as it is. So I do thank you incredibly for the support and help with this channel to keep on running. And I got to say thank you so much for appreciating our coverage. We try our best to cover this each and every night the best we can. And as far as us holding up, well, I'm holding up pretty good. Honestly, we went on a hike. It's not even that hard of a hike, to be entirely honest. It was the Millbee North Overlook Trail, but for some reason on the day that I went with Matthew, I was struggling to do it. And now that I've gotten off of that trail, I actually kind of hurt my right foot a little bit. So I've been having to take it easy on that foot throughout most of the day today. Because when did we do that, Matthew? Did we do that like yesterday or the day before yesterday?
I think it was the day before yesterday.
Yeah, I think it was the day before yesterday, but I really have hurt my foot from that one a little bit, so I'm having to kind of baby it a little bit so that we don't hurt it any worse. I think it's the laces on that shoe weren't really tied the right way. So I need to, relace it and make sure that it's right and everything. But beyond that, though, doing pretty good outside of my foot hurting, and the views were great. That was actually the first time that Matthew ever went up the Millbee North Overlook Trail, and he got to see the alpine views that you get from the overlook, and it was pretty cool. Turns out, by the way, not to rabbit hole on this one too much, but when I came home from that hike, actually, really quickly to break from that story, we actually have some breaking news coming out at this moment right now. So, Matthew, what do we got?
Okay, so I've generally gotten some validation, at least enough validation to at least report on the story right now. It looks like, thanks to Gordo on Twitter, he's been tracking some things on Flight Radar 24, and it does appear to be quite interesting. We're seeing here, it looks like one of the command planes at Gulfstreams of the U.S. Air Force has just made a flight down to what appears to be heading toward West Palm Beach, possibly, it looks like. We're also seeing some other flights making their way down toward Miami. And the important part is there is a command headquarters down there in Florida. So if these aircraft are all going to the same spot, that could indicate that maybe they're going down there for some possible meeting, maybe for future military operations. That could indicate that, because we are seeing a pretty decent amount of flight activity heading down to Florida. Also, is the president currently in Florida right now? Have you heard anything about that?
I don't know, but if they were trying to go to a headquarters, say, for CENTCOM, they would have to actually fly to Tampa, because that's where CENTCOM's headquarters is at. If they go down to Miami, that would be Southcom's headquarters, and if they go to Mar-a-Lago, then that means they're just setting up the whole, dog and trick pony show thing in the lobby at Mar-a-Lago, I guess.
I believe, the last I heard, I believe the president's currently at the Doral Resort in Miami right now, and I believe that resort is just right down the street from Southcom's headquarters, if I'm not mistaken. So it could be that maybe they're using that headquarters as a temporary spot to meet, possibly, not necessarily for Southcom operations, but simply a meeting spot, since the president's nearby in the area. That could be it. But it does appear to be a lot of aircraft heading down that way. So some people believe that maybe the Secretary of State was on one of those aircraft heading down there. We can't verify that, though. But that could be a signal, but I'm not very confident in it right now. But just wanted to report on that.
See, CENTCOM is right in here somewhere. Weirdly enough, folks, it's like a normal office building in the midst of the rest of them. It's not really that cool or anything. Like some of the others.
Doral Resort, and it should be right up the street.
Let's see. Well, I found the DoubleTree by Hilton. That counts.
It's right in here, by the way. It's right in here somewhere.
Let's see, the Doral Resort. There's a loft. Where the hell is this damn Doral Resort?
Just type it in.
Oh, I typed in Doral Resort.
Type in the headquarters you're looking for instead of the resort.
Wait a minute. Man,
it's right there. It's right there. You see where that Marriott's at right there? It's right in there in that office building. Zoom in.
here. Here it is.
Yep.
Southcom, right there.
There it is.
Yeah, so, but I mean, that would be something. Oh, wait a minute, the whole Cuba thing. Oh, okay, yeah, that might be why. Because
Well, I mean, once again, just because they're meeting in a Southcom building doesn't mean that they're necessarily doing Southcom operations. It could be just a meeting place.
well, maybe. I mean, that's a good point. Yeah, for some reason, I was thinking that they have to go to the specific headquarters to deal with the specific people in that command to get stuff done. But yeah, you're right. They could just meet there for the hell of it.
They could be meeting at the golf course. You never know. They might not be going to that building at all for the military stuff. They might be going to the golf course. You know, during the raids in Venezuela, they set up a makeshift command center in Mar-a-Lago. So, I mean, it's not a requirement, and under this current leadership, to be meeting in a military facility. They'll do it anywhere. They just literally tell them to start bringing all the secure communications to the spot. They set them up, set up comm links and stuff like that. And they just run the operation from a resort.
You know, that's actually an interesting point. It's really nice to know, by the way, that the Hong family from China just moved in and bought up this whole strip of houses over here. Weirdly enough, they've been, like, gutting a lot of them. Like, you know, there's, like, no furniture in them, and there's these weird, giant, glowing mechanical contraptions in the middle of the room. But I'm sure that has nothing to do with the fact that they're all hanging out right here at the resort just next door. Obviously, I'm of course joking about that. Like, that's definitely not happening. But you would think that with this being the case, that's a giant golf course and it's just a normal resort, and there's giant neighborhoods nearby and unprotected areas. You know, some people might be able to set up some tech to eavesdrop if they can.
Possibly. We have pretty secure communications, though, so that'd be kind of hard to do. You'd have to have pretty big equipment to tap into that, at least a mobile setup, at least.
Well, hopefully they don't have something like that yet.
Unless the Russians are driving around in a van with, like the satellite dish on top of it, like you see in the movies, like they're driving around, like trying to pick up some signals. I think that might catch some attention, by the way, because they monitor the roads when the president's in places like this. They monitor the traffic around there. So if someone's driving by with like a big ass antenna on top of a van, that might catch some attention.
Oh my God, dude, they wouldn't ever expect this. An ice cream van. You could rig one up because they're all over the place. But they're all over the place down there because it's, you know, a seaside sort of location. You could just drive this thing nearby with a load of equipment in it, and it would blend in perfectly because it's Florida, and these are everywhere down there.
Yeah, but obviously we don't want that to happen. Obviously, we don't want them to eavesdrop on anything. We want our stuff to be secure. So they'll catch them if they're going by. If someone's trying to eavesdrop, they'll catch them.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't want them to do that, but I mean, they could, you know. Man, I'm going to tell you, man, that's going to be absolutely heinous, folks. If that ends up happening, like if there's this specialized ice cream van that they have in from China or Russia that just eavesdrops, but we don't have to worry about that, folks. We know that the Russian envoy will be invited straight into the meeting, so we don't even have to worry about the whole eavesdropping thing. They'll just be there. But anyway, or we'll just call Putin and tell him everything afterwards. But anyways, moving us on out of that whole deal, we do have to get back into our super chat segment, talking to Fred. And after we got done with that whole Milby North Overlook thing to get us back on that conversation and wrap this one up, I actually went and read my hiking guide, and it turns out that trail, which starts down here, actually leads up to this peak, which is Mount Raymond, which has some really stunning views in the late summer, like this one. That's a really nice view. Honestly, I want to do that one day, but it's like 4,000 feet up. I don't think I'm ready for that. But a huge thanks to you so much once again for support, Fred, and helping this channel to keep it running. And I hope that has addressed that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next super chat goes to none other than Hokey Redneck. And thank you very much, Hokey, for that $50 support. And Hokey said, how many AGM-114 missiles can a Warthog carry?
I don't think that an A-10 Warthog can actually carry Hellfires, at least from my recollection. I think that it can carry an AGM-65 Maverick, which is kind of similar, but not exactly a Hellfire in the way that it operates. You can still get a Maverick to get some pretty decent range. That thing also has a range of like 25 to 50 miles, so pretty long range, all things considered. But for cost-effective purposes, an Apache just loaded up with as many Hellfires as it can carry, which would be 16, it would be the most ideal sort of a system to use. It is as impervious to fire, at least in that situation, as an A-10 would be. It doesn't require a direct line of sight, and the missiles are a lot cheaper per unit than that of the AGM-65 Mavericks would be. So I hope that does address that the best I can, and a big thanks to you for support and helping to keep this channel running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, Hokie, we wouldn't be able to answer the great questions like that and keep this channel running. And so a humongous thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the last question of the segment, and then we're going to be moving on into the rest of the news for the night.
All right, so this one's going to go to Hokie Redneck once again, and thank you very much, Hokie, for the second support, the 50 right there. He said, what happens when there is no makeup on the shelves? Fake up takes oil to make.
Oh, man. I tell you, you're losing the women's vote right there. like, if you can't have makeup, honestly, a lot of stuff wouldn't be around. It wouldn't just be makeup. There is a lot of products that have some sort of petroleum item in them.
Hey, also, can you imagine? I mean, I know that was obviously pointed at the women, I think, right there. But at the same time, though, imagine all these news anchors that slather on the makeup and all this stuff before they go on the air. You know, all these old washed-up people on mainstream media that keep jumping on there and getting in brawls with people that are 22 years old and stuff like that. It's like all the makeup they need. I mean, they need makeup to hide the tears. Like they're not going to have it. They're going to get on there looking all haggard, coming out there looking rough.
Man, I gotta say though, gotta give a big shout out to the folks over at that one channel that did go on CNN, went on there, and turned it into a firestorm. I mean, honestly, rightfully so. I mean, they had the same kind of argument points that we kind of have on this channel, and apparently they weren't really liked too well on CNN because they don't fall under that goofy framework that most mainstream media companies fall under and how they operate these days. But that is a good question. I actually pulled it up, and it turns out, folks, that 96% of all commercialized goods have some form of petroleum product in them in their manufacturing process. Did you know that, man?
Yeah. I knew that generally. Yeah, I did know that. If y'all ever see if we get a whole thing where the shades of orange start becoming slightly a shade lighter each day, that might indicate that the supply chain hiccup has finally reached the makeup possibly, or the spray tan. If you start noticing 50 shades of orange over the next couple of weeks, that could indicate that maybe there's a problem with the supply chain at that point.
So, to give you all a little bit of an idea, some of these will be obvious, of the types of products that use oil. Every type of plastic obviously uses oil. That's a no-brainer. Synthetic clothing, which is all types of clothing these days, uses oil products. Tires obviously use oil products. Cosmetics also as well. Detergents. You're not a dish. You're a man. They all use oil to some extent. And also pharmaceuticals, like the medicines, they also use that as well. So most everything that y'all use in modern daily life has some form of oil in it. But you know what, folks? Nothing's ever been sweeter than a whole bunch of European ships sucking the oil straight out of our strategic oil reserve. Nothing's been better. Really makes America come out on top. For some reason, the U.S. never did that before. No other politician in all of U.S. history has ever thought of that as a good idea to succeed, and we succeeded not doing that for the past 80 years since the end of World War II. But apparently they were all wrong. The U.S. didn't become a successful superpower, by all of these guys doing the right things. They obviously did all the wrong things, and for some reason, just by our luck, we became a superpower. So obviously doing the complete opposite will produce far better results. We all know that. Because if a company is a multi-billion-dollar Fortune 500 company and a certain CEO is running it well, then we obviously need to remove that CEO and do the complete opposite of everything he was doing, and then the company will really take off and do well. That is logic, and that is what a lot of people miss these days. But a big thanks to you so much once again for support, Hokie Redneck, and helping this channel to keep it running. And I hope that does address it incredibly well. And I hope that you're back safe and sound in Washington, D.C., enjoying yourself up there. And so a humongous thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, it is now time for us, folks, to move on finally out of the Middle East. We've finally done it, folks. We have made it out of the Middle East. We've made it out. We're getting out of the hood with this one because we're going straight to China. We were able to hear that the Chinese have announced today the following. China has ordered national companies to ignore U.S. sanctions on domestic refineries accused by Washington of buying Iranian oil.
I'm on that overload, overkill. I'm redlining, I'm blue pills, high octanes, my intake. I'm P-Swayze, man, point break, make no mistakes, I don't care. Not one shit we'll be giving here, make the room shake. Earthquake, turbulence, outer space, yeah, let it go. Cruise control, full speed ahead with my eyes closed. I smoke the best, just hydro, make my eyes red like Diablo. I'm taking off, next to go, Molotov, set the blow. These crimson eyes, I set the glow. Medieval shit, man, crossbows. We dangerous, we smoke, got catapults for the bags of dope. Been set in stone, good to go. Found my zone at the Alamo, yeah, big time. Dinosaur, so big, colossal. You stuck in dirt, man, fossils. We taking off, full throttle, let's go.
It's 3:15. Get it, got it, get it. Going like a big bad wolf and lost in the woods, but deep in the beat like a rock in a hood with the clothes of a sheep. And I wish you would try to find me like you wish you could. Roll real deep and it's understood. We get real fucked up and I'm feeling real good. Gotta carry me home. Underwood, nice on a mic like a knife to the throat. Nights real high cause the bass real low. Right by your side when you fight with a bloke. Watch where you bite cause you might just choke. Dead man walking into the rope. If I hit this one more time then I might just blow. You're a dirty head, you're filthy bro. Fuck it then, someone give me this look. Pop in the floor with that. Break down the order, rock the performance, top of the mood to ya. Up with the over the top of the score like friends in the corner, I'll go to war for ya. These crazy lights, these lazy nights, I'm Franco, I got me yelling at the sky like yelling at the sky, singing rolling through the woods, singing yelling at the sky, singing yelling at the sky, singing. Inhale, exhale, clear the bone, no stale smoke. Lungs open like a ship's sail. Mutiny when you double dope. My boot hits like a drum kick. No two shits, do I give a fuck? My crew's thick like a fat bitch. She's hungry for get eaten up. You a stepping stone, we walking tall. Footprints down the hall. Knock down, we stand up. We party hard, get your hands up. We blaze up, smoke you out. Mind trap, we poke you out. There's an undertone, don't hesitate. We low calorie, we medicate. In my zone, it's sucker free. Yo, that bitch, it sucks to be. When the doctor's in, it's about y'all. Remember this, no house call. My door's open with the nurse waiting. Sexy bitch bringing my first patient. Heart racing, paper chasing. I'm Bruce Wayne and your Dick Grayson. Yelling at the sky, singing. Rolling Franco, I singing. Yelling at the sky, singing. Yelling at the sky, singing. Rolling Franco, I singing. Yelling at the sky, singing.
Air China.
Graham Plattner blames Maine's women for getting raped because he says they get f***ed up drunk. And Plattner bragged about having a Nazi tattoo on his chest. That's the real Graham Plattner. Pine Tree Results Pack is responsible for the content of this advertising.
At some point, they might have to declare an emergency and just force a landing in St. Petersburg, no matter the condition or.
State of mind check, state of mind check, state of mind check, state of mind. Yo, state of mind check, state of mind check, state of mind check, state of mind. Yo, state of mind check, state of mind check, state of mind check, state of mind. Yo, state of mind check, relax before you flex, realize what you do and understand the choice you're choosing is the no and no way out. Been the taco out, yeah, I'll start to scream, then we all start to shout. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, but I'm not, and I know it, cause I got class, style, finesse, and I show it. Just trying to speak about exactly what is on my mind, and if you don't agree, then that's just fine. I don't care, but no, I don't think that I ever will. I'm not in this to make friends, know the dollar bill. Just trying to speak upon my point of view. So shoo-be-doo-be-doo, oh shoo-be-doo-be-doo-be-doo. State of mind, state of mind, state of mind, state of mind.
Flyer that is reportedly circulating. It calls on people to shine laser pointers at police helicopters tonight. Okay, get ready for this one.
Doing that again, huh?
Unaware, back back in October of 2025, in the Portland,
I mean, it's kind of always
Oregon
been
area,
happening, right, in different
helicopters were under
areas.
threat of having lasers pointed at them. This was such a big threat that medevac
It's the ones you
helicopters
can't
actually
see.
had to
You want to be more
divert,
worried
getting
about.
away from any possible area
Right. I
where
mean,
lasers could
a
be
lot of
pointed
these,
at them.
again, keep in mind, just anyone listening, yeah, it's almost as though, again, they put those capabilities and toys into the hands of below middle class and above, right? I mean, people are getting desperate, trying to cover up their crime and fraud. They get so many ready to snap. Time to roll it out, get them while it's hot. Yeah, so this has always gone on. I remember them doing this shit when I was a kid with different stuff. Smoke and mirrors, shiny stuff, lights, orbs, holograms. It's not a secret. What's scary to a lot of us is how people play fucking stupid to it. And all jump on board some kind of business or game. An investigation. I know, you're doing an investigation, right? So are the fucking junkies on the street. Wake the fuck up. Everyone's doing an investigation. JLR on the street. We could find Nancy. Now we're looking for tornadoes. Go pass out some flyers. Do you see these bikers? Yeah. Alright, so they put those capabilities into the hands of punks and idiots that are dumb enough to do that. Like the idiot's dumb enough to drive the trucks or try to actually bring drugs into the jail. I know they're laughing because, I mean, the actual stuff they want to get in there, they're using drones and shit. They drop it in all the time. That's been going on for years, and they've busted quite a few people for that. What the fuck are you talking about? Stork! Are you a pigeon carrier? It was a pigeon. Did you see what that pigeon just dropped in here? Oh my god, someone... I have nothing to do with what that bird just dropped. But I'll take care of it. Let me get that out of the way. We don't want any kids picking this up. Get out of here, co-inmates. I don't want you guys getting hurt with this stuff. I mean, just take it within and out of the prison system. It's all over the place, for real. Anyways, so they put these capabilities into the hands of fucking punks and pieces of shit. Right, so a lot of that, again, just like the drugs, we don't fucking care. People need to wake up the fact that it gets freaking snuffed out and people play fucking stupid in G.I. Joe and, do Botox, stem cells, fucking, they're all fucked up, dude. They're all popping antidepressants and stimulants and downers and uppers. Sedate. Counteract, too sedated. I know, it's fucked up, dude. It's fucked up what they've been doing to our children. What happened with us, I mean, it's already done. Take a look. We're dead. We are dead. It's not a mental illness for us to say that. It's a form of speech. Yeah, ever hear of speaking in tongue? Yeah, so when you understand the history, you go, oh yeah, that is a dead person. You ever see the movie Dead Man Walking? Okay, so we're dead mothers and we're trying to help the public wake the fuck up. And we're sick of seeing innocent people get killed and targeted and these children being fucked and tortured. They feed it to these fucking punks on the street that are banking on these feeding and chasing fucking businesses. Don't forget to sell your vitamins, folks. Yeah, a lot of them going around and doing that shit aren't actually going to sell that stuff to you. They're going to promote the other bullshit find out which ones are psycho, which ones take which meds. They have your medical records sometimes, different hackers that can have access to that. That's why a lot of them got jobs within the state departments. All they had to do was go to school for 6 months online. Yeah, go back between 2008 and 12. You'll start to see it and what people were talking about. And it's really sad how so many good people trying to help other people literally put themselves out on a very fringed limb. And many didn't make it. And it's gut-wrenching, and it's so sad to us. And we say, yeah, if you're just going to put the babies in a pot of boiling water, continue to let them be burned alive in these vehicles by psychotic, over-medicated pieces of shit. I know, and then their solution for some of those problems is they weren't taking their medication, or they need to take medication. I told you they had mental problems. They were talking about God and then the demons. Yeah, so's the fucking vice president. Right, so people need to wake the fuck up around here. My name's Mary. We're in Augusta, Maine. Proper authorities need to help these children. My name is Mary. Governor Hill Mansion. 4 children here. Youngest 2 are in the hands of sick murderers, pedophiles. Name is Michael Scott Garand. He was born 6/22/1984, and him and his sick fucking mother are 2 of the most abusive people I've ever met in my life. People ignoring this is a fucking mental illness. Us speaking out about it every day is a service to you. Appreciate it. Much love, everybody.